Hi, Jeff Big Daddy Wayne here. Welcome to Big Daddy Knows, my YouTube channel, my attempt to grab fame, further the career, make money. In my career as a comedian, many people ask me, what comic really inspired you? What comic really got you deeper into your craft? What comedian really was the guy? When I was a kid, there used to be only 3 TV channels on, and it was the Marx Brothers. I love the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers, and Groucho was my great hero. At that time, they had the old movies, and they had You Bet Your Life on reruns, but Groucho would be on a lot of shows, and I always loved Groucho. There was a revival of the Marx Brothers and Groucho when I was younger, so Groucho was always my biggest influence in comedy, and a host of other comedians from W.C. Fields and Fred Allen and these older guys. I really wasn't so taken with the crop of comedians that came along later. I'd watch them. When I was a kid, I loved Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis was great. You would watch Jerry Lewis in these movies. That was in my time as a kid of going to the movies, and the place would shake with laughter. So I loved his persona, his presence. So Jerry Lewis was a big influence. But when I look at other comedians, very few stand-up comedians. I like them. I always liked them. But when I went to the Comedy Store, this is human contact on site happening. So who was the guy that influenced me the most? Paul Mooney. Now, some of you don't know who Paul Mooney is, but in the world of comedy, we all know who Paul Mooney is. And Paul Mooney is one of the most interesting, most fascinating, and one of the most funny men of all time. Paul Mooney wrote for Richard Pryor and with Richard Pryor. Paul Mooney also wrote for In Living Color. He also wrote for the Dave Chappelle Show. In fact, Dave wrote the introduction for this book, Black is the New White. And so when I was at the Comedy Store as a doorman, I got to see Paul Mooney work night after night. Always well-dressed, handsome, little beret on. He had a sniffer of cognac, And, Paul would talk like that. Oh, what's going on? He had great jokes. I went to DMV today. They asked me, what language would you like to take the driver's test in? He said, German. I want to drive on the Autobahn. I'm sorry, I thought this was the United States of America. Paul Mooney to me, white people are scared by monsters. They have all kinds of monsters. They don't scare black people. Black people would be scared by the cornbread monster. The cornbread monster would scare them. He'd always go like Jaws. Only crazy white people go in the ocean. There's sharks there. Black people, you don't see us surf. A lot of his jokes were about race. No getting around it. But I thought they were funny jokes. The audience thought they were funny jokes. When you would watch him, you could understand the correlation between him and Pryor. A lot of Paul's act was centered around the big N-word. This is true. There's no way to getting around it. Paul doesn't use that word anymore, and in the book he explains why. And I think it really is a good thing, because to eliminate these words from our society, people need to stop using them. The Jewish community did this. There were a lot of bad words for Jews, and a generation of them said, we're tired of hearing these words, so we're not going to use them. And they stopped using them, and the word was weeded out of our society, those words. But Paul Mooney, God bless his heart, I got to see Paul perform many times. Paul helped many comedians, black and white, helped many women. I met a woman that I was writing on a roast for Sugar Ray Leonard for the Playboy Channel. And I mentioned Paul as one of my favorite comedians. And she said, I did a show with Paul as a writer. And these other guys were making these cheap jokes about me. And he just went, hey, let's stop all that right now. Let's have some respect for the lady. She's here because she can write. So I just want to tell you with Paul, I used to book him when he was a comedian. He always did the job. He was always a funny guy. And God bless Paul Mooney. Look into his work. Look at the work. Look at the stand-up. He has a lot of CDs and YouTubes out. But Paul, God bless you. You were the influence on me, poor white trash, to dig deeper as a stand-up comedian. Big Daddy knows.